Unlock your self-worth. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and truly saw yourself? Not your flaws, not your failures, not your fatigue, but the real you, the one beneath the shame, the one beneath the pressure, the one beneath the shoulds. The truth is, so many of us walk around wearing masks of competence, strength, and perfection, but deep down, we're silently asking, am I enough? And I want to tell you something you may have forgotten: you were born enough. You were born worthy. But over time, the world taught you otherwise. Today isn't about learning how to become valuable. It's about remembering that you already are. Let's talk about some key shifts that can help you unlock your self-worth and begin living from a place of confidence, compassion, and courage. Key 50. Challenge the lie that your worth is earned. From an early age, many of us were taught that we must do to be loved. Be the best student. Be the perfect child. Be the most productive employee. Win, achieve, hustle, perform, and slowly but surely, our worth got tangled up in our output. But here's the hard truth. If you believe your worth is earned, then you'll always be one failure away from feeling worthless. Real life example. A corporate executive once told me she hadn't taken a vacation in 6 years. She was praised, promoted, admired, but secretly she felt empty. When she was laid off during a restructuring, she fell apart. Not because she lost her job, but because she had wrapped her identity around it. Your job, your GPA, your social media likes, those are roles you play, not evidence of your worth. You are enough even when you're not producing. You are enough when you're healing. You are enough just by being. Your worth is not a transaction, it is the truth. Key 20. Reclaim the parts of you that you've buried. Let's be honest. So many of us have silenced parts of ourselves to survive in a world that rewards perfection and performance. Maybe you were told you were too sensitive, too quiet, too loud, too emotional, too weird, so you buried those pieces of you. You built a version of yourself that the world could accept. But here's the thing, the more you disconnect from your authentic self, the more unworthy you feel. Story. A young woman once said to me, I feel like a stranger in my own skin. She had spent years trying to become what others wanted: the perfect daughter, the loyal employee, the supportive partner, but she never asked what she wanted. One day in therapy she said, I've lived my whole life as an apology. That broke my heart because so many people feel the same. To unlock your self-worth, you must unearth the pieces you buried. The creative part, the silly part, the loud part, the raw part. You were never too much. You were just around people who wanted less. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to come home to yourself. Key 30. Understand that worth and shame cannot coexist. Shame says, you're not good enough. Worth says, you're enough right now. And the two can't live in the same room. Shame is a powerful emotion. It isolates you. It tells you you're unlovable, broken, unworthy of connection. And the worst part, it grows in silence. Research insight in studies on shame resilience. People who were able to move through shame had one thing in common. They talked about it. They spoke the unspeakable. They said, I'm messed up. I'm scared. I feel like I'm not enough. Story. There was a teacher who used to cry in her car every morning before work. She felt like a fraud. Despite being loved by students and colleagues, she never believed she was good enough. One day, she finally told a friend, I feel like I'm failing at everything. And her friend said, thank you for telling me. I've felt that too. That's how shame loses its power, when it's met with empathy. To unlock your self-worth, speak your truth, name your pain, share your shame. You'll discover you're not alone. You'll discover you're still lovable, even in your darkest moments. Key 4. Create boundaries that honor your worth. We teach people how to treat us by what we allow. If you constantly abandon your needs to please others, your self-worth erodes. If your boundaries are blurry, your sense of value will always be at risk. But let's be clear. Boundaries aren't about keeping people out. They're about keeping yourself safe. Real life moment. A woman I worked with once told me, I always say yes because I don't want to disappoint anyone. She was burnt out, resentful, and exhausted. I asked her, what if disappointing others is the price of not disappointing yourself? She was silent, and then she cried, you are allowed to say, I don't have the capacity right now. That doesn't work for me. No, you are not rude. You are not selfish. You are worthy of peace. The day you stop over-explaining is the day you start honoring yourself. Key 50. Practice worthiness daily. It's a muscle, not a moment. Unlocking your self-worth isn't a one-time revelation. It's a daily practice. It's waking up and choosing to believe. I am not defined by yesterday's mistakes. I am not behind. I am becoming. I belong in my own life. Research-backed tip. One of the most effective tools for building self-worth is self-compassion. In fact, studies show that people who speak kindly to themselves during moments of failure recover faster, are more resilient, and have stronger emotional health. Try this every night. Write down 3 ways you showed up for yourself. Maybe you said no. Maybe you drank water. Maybe you rested. Celebrate the small wins. Why? Because self-worth isn't built in giant leaps. It's built in tiny choices repeated daily. Key 60. Stop comparing your journey to someone else's. Comparison is the thief of joy, but more than that, it's the enemy of self-worth. We scroll through perfect lives on social media, hear other people's success stories and wonder, why not me? But here's what we often forget. We're comparing our behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Story. A client once told me, everyone around me is thriving, getting married, buying houses, and I'm just trying to get out of bed. I asked her, how would your life feel if you stopped measuring it against theirs? She said, maybe I'd finally breathe. Your path is sacred. It doesn't need to look like anyone else's. To unlock your self-worth, look inward, not outward. The only life you need to build is your own. Key 7. Heal the inner critic. That voice in your head, the one that says, you're not good enough. You'll never succeed. You always mess up. That's not your truth. That's your inner critic, shaped by fear, rejection, or past wounds. But here's the thing, you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. Real life insight. In cognitive behavioral therapy, people are taught to talk back to their inner critic, to question it. What evidence do I have that I'm a failure? What would I tell a friend who said this about herself? This rewiring builds self-trust. And where there is trust, worth can grow. To unlock your self-worth, learn to speak to yourself like someone worth protecting. Key 80. Redefine what strong looks like. Somewhere along the way, we decided that being strong means being silent, being unshaken, being unfazed. But that's not strength, that's suppression. Real strength is soft, it's honest, it's vulnerable. It says, I need help, I'm struggling, I'm tired. Story. A father once told me he didn't want to cry in front of his kids because he wanted to be strong, but years later, his daughter said the moment she saw him cry was when she realized he was safe. To unlock your self-worth, allow yourself to feel without shame. Being human doesn't make you weak, it makes you real. Key 9. Let go of the need to be chosen. We spend so much of our lives trying to be picked by partners, friends, employers, the crowd. We mold ourselves into what we think others want, praying they'll love us. But the most powerful shift happens when you say, I no longer need to be chosen by anyone else to choose myself. Moment of truth. There's someone listening to this who's bending over backwards to fit into someone else's life. But here's the truth, if you have to shrink to be loved, it's not love, it's self-abandonment. To unlock your self-worth, choose yourself first, every single time. Key Hungle. Release the weight of past labels. Many of us carry around old labels like heavy backpacks, failure, weird, lazy, too much, not enough. But those labels were given to you by people who couldn't see your fullness. You are allowed to outgrow who they said you were. Real life note. In trauma recovery work, there's a concept called reauthoring your story. It means you don't erase your past, you reclaim it. You say, yes, that happened, but I decide what it means now. Well, your past may have shaped you, but it does not define you. To unlock your self-worth, let your story evolve. You are more than any label. Key 11. Surround yourself with mirrors, not magnifying glasses. Some people magnify your flaws. They focus on what you lack, not who you are. But others, they reflect your beauty, your growth, your worth, even when you can't see it yourself. Make this your standard die. If someone makes you feel small, that space is not for you. Story. A man in recovery told me the moment his healing accelerated was when he stopped spending time with people who constantly reminded him of who he used to be and started surrounding himself with people who spoke to who he was becoming. To unlock your self-worth, choose relationships that reflect your value, not your wounds. You don't need to hustle for your worth. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to wait for the world to tell you you matter. You already matter. You already belong. You already are enough. So stop waiting for permission to love yourself. The door to your worth was never locked. You just forgot you had the key, and now it's time to use it.